Kia ora, hello, vanakkam. You are watching Sarah in Between. My name is Sarah. I'm a second generation Kiwi-Indian living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And on this channel, we talk about how faith can inform our cultural stories and how they can coexist and how we can find purpose in being in the in-between. I don't like the term church hurt, because I think it stereotypes an entire church as a whole and Christian spaces in general as a place of hurt. And this video is not about the hurt that is caused by church or by the church. It is a video about hurt that can be caused by people, systems, or behaviors within any given church space or Christian group space. So this is the definition of church hurt. It refers to the emotional, spiritual, or relational pain someone experiences as a result of actions or inaction by individuals, leaders, systems within a church community. It often involves betrayal of trust, spiritual manipulation, abuse of power, or exclusion or judgment. It can come from pastors and leaders, members of the congregation, or even church systems, not just individuals. And it can lead to pain, sometimes trauma, and in some cases, people leaving the church altogether. Let me start with this. Who I am today is because of the church and the people of the church. Where I have learned, where I have grown, where I have understood what my God-given skills and talents are, and where my family and I have received support and strength in times of need, and where we've found happiness and joy and celebration in all of the happy moments in our lives. And these have all come from the church. We have been able to make it this far in this country as immigrants, as first and second generation, because of so many wonderful and blessed leaders and mentors and friends from the church who continue to give us the spiritual and emotional support and healing that we need. But often the places and the people that we love the most are often where we experience the most hurt. And so also in spaces where God is working most powerfully among people, among a unified people, is where Satan loves to work twice as hard to ruin the glory being given to God. And so growing up as a pastor's kid and as an active member of the church, I was singing in worship, I was involved with the choir, in Sunday school, and growing up being part of the media team and emceeing, and always having a really all-expansive, all-round, very in-depth experience in the church for most of my life. I've seen firsthand how hurt caused in Christian spaces can tear individuals, families, and even communities apart, and how it has caused my own family and myself a lot of pain in the past, and how this has fed down into the way that I see the world as a second generation Indian Christian. A couple of things that I've come to understand over the years is that two things. One, we are all broken. Every single one of us, and that includes the people in the church. And so you can't expect to hold the people in the church to a higher standard because, one, we have all fallen short of the glory of God, and if we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. And yes, as Christians, we should be a standard, and we should be the standard of love and mercy and grace and peace. But at the same time, we are also all broken people. And so maybe you've hurt someone without knowing it, and obviously others may have hurt you as well. And we are increasingly in multicultural church spaces around the world, and it's important to understand that as much as other people have biases in the way that they view and experience us, we also have our own views of the world and our own biases or past hurt or past trauma informing the way that we interact with people. And often God calls us to work in very imperfect spaces, and such is the world. And it's sad to say that for many Asian or South Asian diaspora around the world, and certainly for people of third culture, a lot of the hurt that we experience may come from the church as a result of bias or stereotypes or race. And it's certainly the story for my family and I, and for me as stepping into roles as the pastor's family, as the pastor's kids, most often in white majority churches here in New Zealand. And I learned what it means to be brown in a white world at a very early age because of the pain caused by people in the church. And that is so sad. But the exclusion we experienced because we didn't look or sound a certain way or like the majority culture in a place where belonging should know no color and no appearance and no language, and the constant feeling of inferiority and shame for simply being who we are, the need to dress or speak or sound a certain way just to fit in a Western white majority culture in order to be accepted by the people of the church caused us a lot of trauma, and it caused us a lot of pain. But all that to say, we experience hurt in so many different places. All of us, we experience hurt at school, at work, when we're at the grocery store, when we're on the road, with our family, with our friends, the people that we love the most. And often, that doesn't mean we just up and leave. We don't go back to school or rather not go back to school because of the hurt that we've experienced. We don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm not going to go to work anymore because of the hurt that I experienced at work. We don't stop driving or stop going to the grocery store because someone or something has hurt us in some way or has harmed us in some way. No, we keep doing the things that we're doing. We keep living in this imperfect world because God has called us to live, and He has given breath in our bodies and given us a mission and a vision of what we should do with our lives. And so it is the same with the church. Just because you have been hurt by the church, the only answer is not to walk away from that. The only answer is never to go back to any church at all. And so going back to my story of being in mostly white majority church spaces, let me tell you that I have equally been a part of Indian churches that were majority Pacifica, even mixed multiracial churches, and there have been disagreements there too. There has been hurt caused there as well. I've equally been hurt by my own brown people in the church. Brown or Indian church communities can be just as difficult to navigate as someone of culture, as an Indian person, as white Western church environments. And increasingly, as people are moving all around the world, this is only becoming more and more of an issue. You are going to be seeing more and more of this. You are going to be going to more and more churches that are multicultural, multiracial, and have so many different backgrounds and experiences and places where people are coming from. And that is on purpose. That is the plan. That is God's plan, that we all worship God together in spirit and in truth. And so we need to understand how to navigate and handle the hurt that can be caused as a result of unmet expectations or pre-existing biases or the lack of our own understanding of our own self or cultural awareness, or simply the inability to trust again or to love again because of the things that we've experienced. But don't get me wrong, there are certain places that God does call us to leave, and there are situations that arise when you do have to leave a church, but that doesn't mean you have to leave the church altogether. There have been plenty of spaces where I have been called to leave, even though it's a Christian space, because it's not functioning in a healthy way or God has called us somewhere else. But the answer isn't always to run away or to never go back to church again. But we can take heart knowing that God works all things, even these things, even our hurts, even our pain, for our good, even the decision to stay or not to stay. The Bible is full of people who have experienced this very kind of thing. And as I dug into what the Bible says and all of the stories about where people have been hurt, I found that Jesus himself was so hurt by his own people, by the religious leaders, by his hometown, People who should have encouraged him, who should have been his best friend, who should have celebrated him, only thought to mock and humiliate and disgrace him. And how many times has that happened to you by your own people? And this leads me to point number 1. Jesus survived that pain, and he was able to walk straight through it, walk straight through the valley of shadow of death, because he knew who he was, he knew whose he was, and he knew the mission that he was called to do. And that was in the midst of all of those people. Nothing anyone says could change that. Nothing anyone said could change that. And it might be that, yes, you are hurt in the church. Yes, there are people talking about you behind your back. Yes, you feel like your thoughts and your opinions aren't being heard. Yes, you might be being excluded from popular groups. But if the mission is in that specific place that God has you in right now, he encourages you and he tells you that he is with you and that he is walking through those things with you and that you can be empowered as a result of that. And so don't let your God-given mission in the places that you have been called to be nullified because of human judgment or exclusion or hurt. Stand firm in whose you are, who you are as a result of that, and your God-given mission. However, sometimes the hurt does get too much, and we do want to get as far away as possible from whoever or whatever has caused us this pain. And this reminds me of the story of Hagar, how she ran away and wanted to get as far away from possible from Sarah because of Sarah's treatment of her. And think about it, Sarah, she is the leader, right? She's the woman of the house. She is the queen. She is the person that the people in the household are looking up to as a leader. And this leader, this woman of God, had hurt this member of her home. Yet God met Hagar where she was and let her know that he was watching her, that he is a God who sees, and that he saw her pain, and he asks her to go back. Has a leader of a church hurt you in some way or hurt the people that you love? Have you been set back by biases or felt like you've been used and thrown? Do you feel like you gave your whole self to this person or to this system or to this church and then been discarded when they didn't need you anymore? But look at the way God handles the pain of Hagar. He doesn't say, oh, just get over it, or, oh, just go back and suck it up. He says, I see you. I see your pain, but your purpose is still back there. And you must go back, but you will not be put to shame. You will not be left unrewarded. I will not leave you alone. We may be asked to go back to the very places that have hurt us, to the very people that have hurt us. Yet God goes with us. He sees us. He knows our pain, and he goes with us to fulfill the plans that he has. But not everyone is called to go back, and sometimes distance and separation from a toxic environment is the best call of action. And so while people may believe that a lot of hurt in the church is by people from leadership, often the hurt caused to the people in leadership is often overlooked. And this is certainly an experience that I have had growing up, is that this can hurt the most because often the people in leadership, the people who have put themselves out there, wear their heart on their sleeve in service to the church and to all those that they interact with in the church. And they are often the most visible, the people with the most responsibility, the most vocal. And if you are a leader in the church experiencing or have experienced pain caused by a system or by someone in the church, it can hit harder because the church is more than a church for those of us in leadership. It's a part of who we are and what God has called us to do and to shepherd the people that he has given to us. No matter what boat you're in, no matter what kind of hurt you are facing from the church or by systems of the church or by people of the church, just remember, please remember who God is, that He is a God who sees you, that He is a God who has given you a plan and a purpose, and that He cares about your hurt, and that He is watching over every single step of yours, every single work of yours, and that He knows about you. And as a result, we can know who we are. What is my purpose? Who am I in this space? Who am I in this multicultural church? What am I called to do? What are my gifts? How can I serve in this church? How can I overcome the hurt that I am experiencing from other people? And finally, to know that God has a mission for us, and that He has a plan for us, and that in the churches that we are in, it is not an accident that we are in the places that we are in, that we have the experiences that we have, because God knows where to put us and how our gifts and our talents can be used. And so my encouragement to you today is, if this is something that you are experiencing, please ask God where you should go and what you should do, and if maybe you should stay. Because I have found that even in places of great hurt, even in places where you have to cast your past pain aside and move forward, that there can be healing and there can be reconciliation, and God can work in almighty ways, in ways you may not even think of or imagine at the moment. God can do those things. And so stand firm in that truth, stand firm in where you are, and you can find healing and grace. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope that you will engage in the comments and let me know if this is something that you have experienced before. Let me know maybe how you got over it or how God has worked in that situation. I will see you in the comments section, and aside from that, in my next video.